Hey guys, this is Chris here. Just bringing you guys another video real quick. Today we're gonna focus on, or rather talk about the pros and cons to an outdoor aviary versus indoor breeding cages. And so I've kind of created a little bit of both worlds here. I have an outdoor aviary. They can fly inside the shed so they can take cover away from all the elements. But then also inside my shed, I have several breeding cages inside there, so when it's time for certain birds to breed, I can put them in those cages and breed them, and we'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons to those ones as well. So just wanted to show you guys the outside aviary real quick. One of the pros that we have here for an aviary is obviously they can get natural sunlight. You can kind of see the sun setting down on it because it is evening time, and the birds are able to get direct natural sunlight. And then I also have some cover on the top, or they can go inside. So if it's too hot, they can escape the sun and get into the shade a little bit. And so I think that's definitely a pro, is the birds getting natural sunlight. I feel like my birds overall are healthier, they're stronger. And I think one of the reasons why they could be stronger too is they have such a big flight, a big place to fly around and get good exercise and go to and from. So on the same lines, a con to an aviary could be also the weather. So today, for a good example, 2 days ago, we had 100-degree weather here in Utah. Today, our high was like 53 degrees. So that's like almost a 50-degree difference within a matter of 2 days. And so that can definitely be a con, to where it gets cold really fast and your birds can't take it and they end up getting sick and dying, or they end up getting cold and dying. You can see my rosy bork male right here soaking up the sun. So inside the sun, you can definitely feel it's a little bit warmer. Kind of look through there, see some of my other birds on the other side. So I would say that could be a con. I've had times where cold spells come through very quickly, and I've had some birds die. And so that's something you have to make sure that you pay attention to, something that you're aware of, you know, because if in the end you don't, it could cost the birds their lives. And so pro, direct sunlight, warm weather, lots of room to fly. A con could be also, depending on where you live, weather and getting cold and dying quickly. And so another pro that I have on a big aviary like this is some of my birds, they breed better in a bigger area. So you take the red rumps, for example. Not saying that red rumps can't breed in, they all just flew inside because I got close. Oh, there they come. You see them flying out. There they are right there. So not saying that the red rumps can't breed in breeding cages, because they can. But I think they do a little bit better in bigger aviaries. Gives them more space to fly. They can get stronger. They don't seem to be as aggressive. My red rumps aren't that aggressive. Right now you can kind of see they kind of chase some of the birds off the perch so they can go up to their favorite spot right there in the sunlight. If you can see the red rumps all the way in the back in the second cage, they like that spot right there because that's almost like the prime sun basking spot in the afternoon, and so, or the evening time. And so they can tend to get a little bit aggressive just to push birds off the perch, but I have never had an injury of a bird up to this point. And so that's something I think is really nice. And so a pro could be that for some of these larger birds that I have, it's a better breeding environment for them. And I had great success this year with the red rumps. They both gave me strong clutches of 3 and 4 chicks. And then it started getting really hot and they kind of stopped breeding for me. And so I think that's something that we have. My rosy borks right here, they were sitting on eggs, unfortunately ended up not being fertile. And so I actually pulled the eggs today, and the female's been kind of coming in and out of the nest, but she was sitting super tight. I'm trying to look and see. I don't see any of my society finches. They all must be inside. One of the cons that I was going to talk about right now is sometimes if you have too many social birds in a big aviary setting like this, it's harder for them to breed, especially the society finches, sometimes the zebra finches, but I've had success with the zebras in colony breeding. My society finches, for example, and they're all inside. So, oh, there's one sitting right there, one of my albinos, and there comes another one sitting right there. Let's see if we can. So one thing with my societies is I have had very minimal to poor results of them breeding in an aviary like this, because it's kind of like a colony setting, and they come out and they all want to nest in the same nest box, so they all overload it. They all lay their eggs in one. Eggs end up being cracked or broken or not incubated right, and so I've had much better results separating my society finches and putting them in a breeding cage. And so those are a few of the pros and cons to an aviary. Another pro that I love about an aviary is simply you can come out and watch the birds be as natural as they possibly can. You try and create an environment to where they can act naturally, have trees that they can go in and out of. You can see across on the other side, I have some grapevines growing on the outside of the aviary, and the goal is to hopefully have them come up and over and down on this side, just to give them some natural plant shade, some protection. They'll feel a little bit more secure and safe. You know, I was able to have plant some other plants out here throughout the summer, and just add some beauty and color here to the birds and to the aviary. And so that's definitely a pro that I feel like, you know, it's so fun to sit out here in the evening times in the summer and just watch the birds play and hang out. You can't ask for anything better than that, you know. And so we'll come down here, see if we can get some of the shots of these birds down here on this side. So my canary's sitting there on the wood there to your right. Let's see if we can get couple of my other canaries. Got some of my Goldians. They just flew off as I moved the phone, of course. Those are my two baby Goldians up top on that perch that just fledged a few days back. Turquoisine. You see how bright and beautiful those birds are when the sun hits on them. They're just awesome. Also have some button quail down underneath. Excuse me. So definitely a pro would be, you know, you can have plants and things out here to beautify it a little bit more. And so I'm going to take you inside now and show you my breeding cages on the inside, and we'll kind of do a few pros and cons to the breeding cages, and then leave it up to you guys to see, one, what space you have available to allow your birds to breed in, and two, kind of the pros and cons, so you know a little bit better. And so you have to excuse it. Tomorrow's my cleaning day, so we're not quite there yet, but as you can see, I don't have any birds in my breeding cages yet. Let's turn this light on here. Give you guys a little bit more light so you can see. So I have quite a few breeding cages. I mean, I have enough, and all of them divide into thirds. So, you know, potentially I could set up quite a few breeding pairs in here. So birds that do really well, in breeding cages are canaries, society finches, zebra finches, my Goldians. A con, and well, let's do the pro. The pro to breeding all these birds in these cages is you can manually select a male and female of your choice, put in a breeding cage, and, you know, hopefully conditions are all right and they breed for you, and you're able to select whether it's colors or certain sizes or anything like that. Whereas in an aviary, and you have colony breeding like how I have here, I could have a female. I have my blueback female. She's in there sitting on eggs, but maybe she went in there and laid some eggs before, and I don't know that. So this hen could hatch some babies, and they could also be bluebacks and greenbacks and yellowbacks. And so that's definitely a con to aviary colony breeding, is you have no idea what's coming out of the nest most of the time. So whereas a pro for breeding cages, you know exactly what pairs are in what cage and what eggs are in there and what your offspring are going to be like, and colors and that sort of thing. So a con to these cages would be they're pretty small. So for a long-term solution, these cages are not a good option. And that's one of the main reasons why I have all of my birds out in the aviary right now, mainly so they can get exercise, so they can get natural sunlight. So come springtime or wintertime, when I'm bringing all the birds in, you know, they're nice and fit and ready to go, and I can throw them in these cages throughout winter where it's nice and warm in here, and let them breed and not have to worry about them getting fat or bored or anything like that. And so that can be a con to these cages, as they are small, or to any cage that you have. You know, long term, you want to try and give your birds the biggest space possible because they're active, they need to fly around, they need to get strong and that sort of thing. And so that could be a con. I'm trying to think, another potentially a con would be right now when time is limited and you have a lot of individual cages that you have to take each food dish out and each water dish out, and if you have egg food in there, you got to take all that out to individual cages. That can be time consuming every day to get all of your birds fed. Whereas right now I have 2 aviaries set up, I have several dishes of different types of seeds that are big, you know, their water dish, their egg food dish. I'm only changing out the seed and water to 2 cages, so that takes me, you know, 5 to 10 minutes depending on how quick I want to be, compared to probably 15 to 20 minutes depending on how quick I want to be. So that can be a con, is, you know, it definitely, the more cages you have, the more time it takes to feed the birds, the more time it takes to clean each individual pan out when you clean the birds. So it multiplies your work, most definitely. And so that's one thing that can be hard. So if you don't have a lot of time, you want to try and set yourself up in a situation to where you're doing as little maintenance but keeping your birds as healthy as possible. And so, you know, those that maybe can't have an aviary because you have limited space, try and get the biggest cage that you possibly can. If you're looking to have a bunch of different birds inside your cages, you know, because cages are smaller, you want to make sure that all your birds will get along. Typically societies and Goldians, if you have like a single canary in there, they do really well together and stuff like that. Lots of times if you have a lot of zebra finches in a small cage like this, they become very aggressive and will pick on other birds or pick on each other. And so that's definitely one thing to keep an eye out for these cages. You know, try and go as big as you can. And if you're doing mixed birds in there, make sure that you have birds that will get along with each other. And if you don't, make sure that they're in a cage single together. So, you throw it in the garbage, sweetie? She got her hands all sticky. It's playing in my seed. So yeah, so those are some pros and cons. I love these cages when I'm breeding. I absolutely love them because I can control everything on those birds or on the canaries, and I have really good results with them. But I also love an aviary to where I can just go outside, I can sit and relax, and I can watch birds fly around outside in the evening times, and it's really fun. In an aviary setting, the birds tend to be a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more energetic, whereas in a cage setting, not quite as much. They seem to tame their energy down a little bit. I'm not saying that for every bird, but for the most part, on what I've seen, that's been a little bit of a difference. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns of whether building an aviary or breeding in an aviary or just having an aviary in general, or the same, you know, if you're trying to keep birds in breeding cages or just have like a little community flight here in a cage, things like that. If you have questions or concerns, you know, drop a comment down below. I try very hard to respond to everyone that comments, and so so just know that if you leave a comment, I will most likely get back to you. And so if you guys have anything else, leave a comment down below. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Hopefully this was insightful to you, and you were able to pick up some good information on aviary breeding, or just having an aviary compared to having just breeding cages or anything like that. And so you can see down here, let's see if we can zoom in. The birds just tend to be a little bit more natural, a little bit more lively out here in the aviary, and that's a lot of fun to watch and see. And so appreciate you guys watching this video. Like I said, like the video, leave a comment, and I'd be happy to get back to you guys and answer any questions that you have. Thanks for watching.